Hey, welcome back to Turntable Guy. On the bench today we have the Rock. We have one of these Kenwood Rock Series turntables. This one's the KD-3055. This one has come in because the owner has stated that it has an issue with the belt, and it certainly does. Actually, I've already got the new belt on replacement here. I'll show you the original belt. I had just put an order in for some belts. This was the original belt, and you can stretch this one and then it slowly comes back. It's basically turning to mush. It's if you stretch it, it's actually bigger than the whole turntable. So he was stating, yeah, the motor is running slow. So I thought, well, it's got to be the belt. But I had a peek at it and I showed him. And you know, it's quite surprising. A lot of people just don't have any idea how some things work, and I guess that's why we're here, to look after those customers. So here's the belt that I ordered. It's a 325 millimeter, and I think this is a 5 millimeter width, and this one fits really well. It's basically I really should do a video on how to do that, but I'm just going to show you real quick before we get into this turntable how I measured this one. Oh, these ones have these. Oh, wait, there we go. That's how we get it off. So when I had a peek at this one, I checked, and none of my standard 23.6 inch belts, which is, I think it's about 305 millimeters that I usually use, none of them worked. So what I did, I just got a piece of wire like this. You can use any wire. Okay, and I wrapped it around the inner platter like this, and I got to this point like that, so where they meet. Okay, so here's our loop, and then what you do is you fold it at that point, and then you measure from here to here, and I got about 325 millimeters. I think it was actually, this one was 330. I can't really remember, to be honest with you. It was something like that. My supplier didn't have that. They had 325, and if we have a look here, 325 is just fine. It goes around the center portion of the platter, and then it's got plenty of play here, which is exactly what you want. So you want it to stay on that inner platter, and then you want lots of play here, but you still want it to be tight enough that it comes back, but you don't want it so tight that it starts yanking on the motor. That's what you don't want. So that's a perfect belt for this turntable. All right, and we are going to service this table because it requires the servicing, and it's got one problem. On the auto return cycle, okay, so when the arm is coming over and it's doing its thing, okay, start. You need power. I'm not going to plug it in right now. What happens is on the auto return cycle, instead of it lifting and coming back, what's happening is it's jerking and skidding back on the record, which is not good for your stylus. And then it's lifting and coming back. So we don't want that to happen, and we're going to have a peek and see what's going on. It could be a simple adjustment of the height of the queuing arm, not for the queuing, so to speak, but for the auto return. So they're actually two separate systems. The queuing, your manual queuing, when you want to lift your tone arm while you're listening to record, is actually, it's the same piston, but it's triggered by two separate systems. One's the auto return trigger, and the other one is just this manual lever that's found on most turntables. So we're gonna have to peek and see what's going on with that one. And we're going to get the motor service, and the spindle feels pretty good. It almost feels too loose, if I could say that, and that could be that there's no lube left in this whatsoever. So this is a pretty heavy turntable. It's made out of a composite material. It's not a rock, so to speak. It got that name because it looks like granite or something. But it is fairly heavy, and we're going to turn it over, and we are going to have a look inside. cover back on. There we go. All right. All right, so there's a couple servicing plates here. Got one here and one here. But what we're going to do is we're going to remove the entire bottom. That way we have a good look at the insides. And there are 6 screws. I'll remove those. I shall be right back. All right, our screws are removed. We're going to lift the base off. Base is a nice, solid piece of wood. Got a little bit of chipboard here and press board. It's got a lot of weight to it. And this can actually act as a shield, but it's also access for your motor and for your tone arm area. Okay. Looking underneath here, here's our spindle. Here is our auto return mechanism. Pretty complicated. Undoubtedly, this is how it works. A couple trip switches here. I wonder if they're for muting. They are for muting. Here's our muting switch. Here's power, I believe, coming off the board. Motor. Here's our 33 and 45 switches over here. Anti-skating here. So I'm just trying to get a look as to where that arm lifter is. Our cueing is here. So that means here's a piston here. This is all part of it. The thing with this turntable, it really needs to have the power on to get these gears and so forth moving. And it's kind of interesting to see what it does to lift. I don't know if we can do that or not upside down. It probably needs the belt on the motor to do it. Okay, well, let's look at that last. Let's do our basic servicing first. And we'll start with our motor here. Now, our motor here is suspended. And this is suspended on 3 rubber mounts. They seem okay. They haven't turned to goo or crystallized, so that's a good sign. So we'll just start removing our screws. I have seen Kenwoods where this this rubber material here has crystallized and become hard like a rock, which is no pun intended. No pun intended since we're working on the rock. But that's not what you want, because you don't want your motor to sink down too far. Okay, so we got a standard AC motor here, and we got a date. I love seeing a date. All right, what do we got here? The 24th of September, 1976. So almost, but not quite 50 years old. All right. Goes aside. Let's get our oils and so forth. Okay, I'm just going to brush off a little bit of the dust here. And how are we seeing that? Good. Okay, we're also going to put our marks. Put a mark here and a mark here. That way I remember where things go. And we'll start by removing this mounting plate. Okay, we've got 2 screws here holding in the motor spindle. Now, I'm going to see if they come out. Sometimes they don't want to move, and this one looks like it's been painted at the factory to keep it from moving. It came out no problem. The first screw. Let's see the second. Yeah, they're okay. And it's all the way down on the shaft. Now, here are 2 factory oiling holes, there and there. And what you do for normal service is you just put a couple drops in those holes once a year or whatever, and that'll keep the top bearing lubricated. What it does not do is lubricate the bottom bearing, okay? There were some older turntables where that actually occurred, and there were these little plastic tubes that took oil to the bottom bearing, and that was a really nice feature. You didn't have to ever rip your motor apart. But we're going to do that because we want to get at this bearing. That's a tight one. Whoa. Obviously never been removed. Well, figures. Charge just died. Get a lock washer and a nut. Get a ground on this side. I'll put a little mark there just so I remember. So we're going to put the ground on this post. Does it matter if it's on the other post? No. But the wire is within reach here, and I just like to put things back where they were. So we got a lock washer, a ground washer after the ground cable. Okay. Now our bottom bearing should come off now. The screws are still in. Don't think they're going to affect anything. No. Okay, here's our bottom bearing. Typical classic bearing. It's clean, I'll say that. There you go. There's your bottom bearing. It's completely dry. There's no lubrication left in there. So within this metal part here is like a felt material or a sponge, something that absorbs oil, and it keeps this lower bushing lubricated. Now, there's no oil left in there. And we're just going to use some electric motor oil here. And just a few drops around the side here. And you should see the oil go down into that chamber. Okay, and if you put a little too much, you just grab a paper towel and just sop up the excess. Just like that. Now that whole area is fully lubricated and coated in oil. And we can just put that back on. I'm not even taking the screws off on this one. Probably have to take them off now for the top. All right, we'll flip it over. And we'll have to pull our screws off now. 1 and 2. This one is very tight in here. There's no threads all the way through. Oh, bottom bearing fell off, of course. It's okay. You can just set it like that. And now just grab your top. Okay. Same story. Difference being is that this bushing goes all the way through, and it's not, it doesn't have like a The other one is enclosed. This one's not. It goes through. But it still has that same material area here where there's that sponge or foam or whatever it is. Felt. And you just want to put some oil in that area. And it hasn't already gone down. It's been absorbed. Okay. But you can service this bearing from the top. That's a nice thing about that. And we'll just again just sop up the excess. And I'm just going to put a little drop at the base of this shaft because we're going to put this back down like that. So it goes all the way through. And now we can put our screws back on. 1 and 2. And then you flip that over. And we can put our ground cable back on. So we had our washer, ground cable, lock washer, and nut on this side. And on this side, we just had a lock washer and nut. And now we'll tighten that. This screw does not want to go in. I think it's the that grounding washer. It's grabbing it, which is good. You want to get that good ground connection, but it might also be a little bit of overkill because there's nothing but metal here. Okay, good. Okay, we can put our pulley back on. Went all the way down. Get 2 screws. Don't strip these screws, and don't strip the little slot in the screw. It's really soft metal. You just want to snug them up. It's a little bit of tension, let it go. Okay, remember our mark there? Right here. Here's our mark here. Put this back down. So just to give you an idea, if you were just servicing this table from up top, you grab your oiling can, whatever it is, and just put a drop. Oops, not on this, like I just did. You want the drop to go over here in this hole. So use a narrower spout than what I have there. I'm just going to wipe that up. Okay, very good. And now put our motor back. Oops, my things came out. Anyway, these are the motor mounts. They're still very pliable. They will deteriorate, unfortunately. These ones might not, because I mean, it's been 50 years. But if yours have deteriorated, there are aftermarket replacements being made. People are not 3D printing them. I don't know if you can 3D print this kind of stuff, but they're being made. All right. So we are good here. This wire should really be taped down. These little red washers are what the motor sits on. And that ensures a vibration-free playback. So the motor should not have any kind of vibration going through the plinth here. That's it. All right, so that's our motor. It looks like our spindle needs to be done from up top. There's nothing down here. There's not even a screw. Just have a quick peek here. I'm going to zoom out. There's our spindle there. Let's have a quick look here. Yeah, it looks like it's held in by a nut from up top. Let's just put I'm just going to put the base on just to, so I can flip the table back over. And we'll do the spindle next. Then we'll take care of that auto return situation, hopefully. All right, zoom in a little bit here. All right, so it looks like we just have to remove this one nut. And it's been painted on by the factory. So just unscrew this. And then you can pull out, or maybe it just needs to drop through the bottom, because all right, we have to flip this over again. Kind of a pain in the butt, honestly. Now I found the screw. It's on the grounding rod here, on the grounding cable. Couldn't see it. All right, let's unscrew this. This thing's beautifully grounded. So we're just gonna remove this screw because it's gonna go missing. And we'll just do this from here. Actually, you know what? This bearing does not feel bad at all. What have we got in here? There's nothing left in there. Just a little bit of grease. Phew, stinks. It stinks like rotten crayons. Do you remember Crayola crayons? When you had them in a big bag, they would get that smell. That's exactly what it smells like. So it could be a wax. All right, so to clean this, we'll just give that that spindle a quick clean with some alcohol. So paper towel, and we're going to clean off all the old grease. That's cleaning off nicely. As you can see, it's kind of gross. There's a ball bearing pressed in on the bottom here. You can just run that on the alcohol. It should spin. That way it's all clean. Okay. All right, so that's clean. We'll just set that aside. And now what we're going to do is clean out the bearing roll. Q-tip with some alcohol. And it looks like a bullet, doesn't it? Just clean this out. I'm going to clean the sides. And I want to clean the base. There's the hole, the grounding that we couldn't see. Turn around, do it again. You want to flush out all the old lubricants. You really don't want them messing with the new stuff we're going to put in. And I'm just going to use the oil that I used on the motor. It's an excellent lubricant. I've also been using a new oil that's almost the same. And I think I showed that in a couple of my other videos. Picked it up at Home Depot, Masters lubricating oil for bearings. Maybe we'll put that in here because it's for bearings. Even though so is the 3-in-1. All right, that looks great. Nice and clean. I'll show you this oil too. So you can use your 3-in-1 for motors, and I've also got this stuff, this Masters, and it's for use on bearings, moving parts, pumps, fans, motors, compressors, all that kind of good stuff. It's a non-detergent oil, which is exactly what you want. I've had a few questions, should I put motor oil in here? And my answer is the same all the time. If that's all you got, just put about 6 drops. If that's all you got is motor oil, then go ahead and use it. The problem with motor oil is that, well, engine oil, not motor oil, I should say car engine oil. The problem with it is it's loaded with viscosity modifiers. It's loaded with additives like calcium and sodium and stuff like that, which really have no place in a yellow metal bushing like this. Okay, so drop of oil, we'll just throw that in there, and you're gonna have some resistance putting this down, and that's what this hole is great for. It'll actually release some of the air to get this to go down. So if it's giving you a little bit of pushback, just keep pushing, and that will eventually sit down. And if you're really having problems with it, you can, there it goes. You'll usually hear a like a fart and it'll come out, and then that the excess air will come out there, and then you've got a beautifully lubricated bushing. But if you did put too much oil, you can use your Q-tip to remove it and keep trying. If it's a really stubborn one, you can put the platter on it and it will eventually push. What you're trying to do is get the air from the bottom here out, right? And a lot of times it may not have this hole or whatever, and the air is really stuck there, so you have to wait for gravity to push this out, whereas this hole works great as a pressure relief valve, so to speak. So this is perfectly lubricated, and now we can put our screw back on, and our beautiful ground system on this turntable. Just like that. And it's got to be straight because it sits in this little notch here, like that. That's the way you want it. Okay. That's our lubrication service. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause, and I have a peek around this area here, and I want to check to see what exactly is going on with the auto return, and I will be back with my findings. Okay, we're on the underside here. Turntable's upside down. This turntable actually has an auto return motor. It's just below this cam under this plate. I got to be careful because there's AC power here. I've got it plugged in right now. It is a very convoluted, complicated auto return mechanism. It's kind of similar to the Pioneer PL570 in its complexity. There's just a lot going on here. And, you know, if just something is out of timing, you're going to get that needle drag that we're experiencing here. But I'm just going to show you what happens. This is the main actuator switch here. And we're going to start it, and you're going to see this cam turn. And then over here is where the arm movement occurs. Now, I have a feeling we've got some sticky grease somewhere. And it could be here. I'm not 100% sure. But my guess is we've got sticky grease. But anyway, I'm going to show you what happens here. So that's the arm being moved into position. And now this is the play position as that cam did a half turn. And if we hit, I better watch where my fingers are going here. I'm going to get a shock. If we hit this switch again, it's going to return back to that halfway point. And it looks like this here is what's moving the arm. Now I can't force it because it's attached to that motor, but I'm looking around and I'm not really finding any sticky grease at this point. And this is our tone, basically our tone arm here. And there's an actuator. This is what trips the auto return right down there. That comes over, touches that, which in turn moves a whole bunch of crap here, which eventually turns this switch. I'm just going to start it up again here. Let's watch the arm. So, and then we'll do it again. You'll see that arm move back right there. See, it's being moved. So that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to understand how this thing operates, and it's very complicated, and I'm hoping I don't take anything apart at this point. But I'm going to do a little cleaning of grease and lubricating and see if that helps the situation at all, and I shall return. All right, it is a day later now. I went to bed last night, wasn't really making any headway, and still not making headway. I just wanted to show you. I've got the table up on a couple paint cans here so we can get underneath there and get a better look at this auto start, auto return mechanism here. I just want to show you what it's doing. So on the start, you'll see the arm come over and reach its dropping point, but then there's a little jiggle of the stylus. It is dropping correctly, but that little jiggle is what worries me, and it's doing the same thing at the back end. So we'll just have a look here. So you watch it get over. See that little jerk there? Pushes it back a little bit. So that's worrisome. Something's not disengaging before it's traveled. So let's just go to the end here, and I'll show you what it's doing at the end, which is much more worrisome, actually. It kicks back within the lead out track, but that's no bueno. So that's where I'm at. And if we go underneath, it might be a little dark under here, but I'll show you the operation here. Let's see if I get some light under here. Okay, so and we'll hit the cut switch. I have a feeling that that white knob there, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's right in this area here. If it is making too much contact or not enough contact, this here is the tone arm. This and this. So this moves the tone arm. well, it doesn't move the tone arm. That is the tone arm. It's just what is moving the tone arm. I believe it's that post back there. Sorry, I can't get the camera up any further. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to keep plugging away here. I know it's just it's just something silly that it's just not catching my eye, but I shall return when hopefully I have a solution. Okay, welcome back. I think I'm making some progress here. Still don't have a solution, but I think I know what's going on here. So if you see this bar here and this one here, these are attached to the tone arm, so they're free swinging. This plate back here, it's right here. Come on, focus. Right there, and it goes all the way through, and it touches this. So when the auto return kicks in, and hopefully you'll be able to see it, the spring snaps with such force that it's kicking the tone arm back. So we're just going to sit here and we're going to watch it. So once the song ends, I put it on 45 so it'll speed up. It's got a very sensitive auto return, and every time I bring the arm over manually, it starts, which is a real pain in the butt. I've done all the adjustments I can, and it is auto returning at the correct spot, but you just can't move it over manually. It just seems to want to trip all the time. So I want you to keep your eye in this area right here. And remember, these two bars here are the tone arm. So just keep your eye there. The song is just about over. So we're just going to keep an eye right there. You're going to see the arm swing inwards as it reaches the outer track. And you see that kick? It comes back with enough force to push this and give it a little jolt, which is baffling. There's no adjustment anywhere, but this here is part of the auto return. And it's all part of this area here. And there's a spring here that trips when the platter comes around. And then this here snaps back. And when it snaps back, it pushes on this and kicks the arm back. So that's where I'm at. Sorry if that's not the best for you, but it's the best I can do right now. I will continue on. Okay, we want to be looking at this arm here. Okay, the tone arm, I've got it on manual mode right now. It will still auto return. So when we turn it on, okay, that frees up, and it puts the auto return in a trigger position, because when the platter comes around, it releases a spring and it shoots, so to speak, right? Excuse my big fat fingers. So we want to look at, it's this arm here, and there's a plate that goes up, which the tone arm touches. So I'm gonna pretend my finger's a tone arm, and we're gonna push this plate in to trigger it. Okay, so the tone, there it goes. See how it kicks back real fast? I'm gonna do that again. I get my finger out of the way this time. I'll do it with a piece of metal. So we're looking at this. Okay, we'll turn it on. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that this is the tone arm pressing this. See how it kicks back? That's what's grabbing the tone arm and pushing it back before the lifter has a chance to engage. I'm thinking it could be these springs here. They're not tight enough, because watch if I hold it this time. I'm going to press it and just hold it. Okay, so I'm going to trip it, and I'm just going to hold it there. See, there's no kickback. So what is making this kick back is the question. I'm going to have to turn this thing over again and have a look, but I feel like I'm getting closer. That's the best I can get it to. I have tried everything. That spring, it's either old, lost its tension, and when it's kicking back, it just doesn't have enough spring tension to keep that one trigger point from kicking back. I just don't know. I hate to leave shit like this, and trust me, this is 3 days on this thing, and I mean it's working beautifully. You know, it's cutting. It's doing everything it's supposed to do. It works in manual mode. It works in, it hits all the correct points, you know, for 45 records and all that kind of stuff. It's just got this little problem. And that also, it's really difficult to get it to go to auto return on its own. Not on its own. When you force it, it's just yeah, it's a pain, man. You know, it basically comes down to how much time can you spend on something. I mean, it was doing nothing when I got it. Bad belt was a huge part of it, but you know, it's better than it was. And I just don't want a copyright strike, but you know, it's kicking back a lot less than it was. And it's almost, you know, it kicks back. It doesn't kick back as much as it looks. It's because there's no grooves in the outer part here. So anyway, I'm going to have to admit a little bit of defeat on this one. I just don't know what else to do. I'm going to leave it here. If anyone knows, I mean, I've looked on Audio Karma. I've looked on Vinyl Engine in the forums as well. You know, just to get some ideas. Sometimes people throw ideas out there. They have the same issues, and there is a thread about this, but it really doesn't go into the issue I'm having with that kickback there. And it has nothing to do with the queuing lever either. The sequence of events is that it starts and the queuing kicks up, but it's the starting of the auto return that's creating that little jolt, and I'm not sure how to cure that. I just don't have any idea. So call me beaten on this one, but it's going to go back to the owner, and I'm going to explain the situation. And you know, it's a 50-year-old turntable, and you can't win them all. That's what it comes down to. Anyway, again, if you had this situation, you know what's going on, you can shed some light on the situation, by all means, leave me a comment in there. I'd really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this one. It is a cool turntable, there's no doubt about it, and it is working, you know, 90% better than it was when it came in here. Just that little auto return thing. I mean, if you put it on full manual mode, you won't have to worry about it. But you know, it's always disappointing when you can't get something 100%. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. We will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.